Born in 1905 in Akron, Ohio, Thelma Benn, later to become Rappold, was the eldest of three daughters. After traveling the globe with her sister, she faced challenges in the aftermath of World War II and resolved to travel to India in September 1947 in search of a guru. In Pondicherry, she met Dr. Hafiz Syed, who encouraged her to visit Bhagavan. Upon meeting Bhagavan, she knew instantly he was the teacher she had been seeking. In January 1948, Sam Rappold, an American from the West Coast, arrived at Sri Ramanasramam. Having embraced the life of meditation as a sadhu, he was more reserved than Thelma, dedicating himself to meditation. Thelma described her first impression of him in her diary, noting, "When I returned to the meditation hall, Mr. Rappold came up and introduced himself. His clear-cut features and high forehead remind me of someone from ancient Greece or Rome. He is from the Los Angeles-San Diego district and is 6 foot 2 inches tall with broad shoulders, wears his hair in a long braid down the back of his neck. He has been here only 2 months, and he is a puzzle to all who meet him. He has different reasons to various ones as to why he wears his hair long. One is to keep the girls away. Another explanation is that it is a mark of an ascetic." Despite his quiet nature, Rappold actively engaged with Sri Bhagavan in the hall, posing heartfelt questions to which Bhagavan responded in English or Tamil, often with the help of a translator. The following collection of conversations between Rappold and Bhagavan were probably recorded by Thelma, who began noting down the interactions in the hall beginning in late 1947. Sam's first encounter with Bhagavan left an indelible impression. He later recalled, "When I first arrived at Sri Ramana Ashramam at 8 a.m. on the 27th December 1947, I was fed at the ashram dining hall. Breakfast for the day was just over. All then went with Ramana Maharshi to the pandal outside the old hall and sat for the day's darshan. I went forward, near Maharshi's couch, prostrated on the floor at his side, and as my head touched the floor, my legs disappeared. It was 3 days before I could feel the ground beneath me again." A few weeks later, while sitting in the hall, Rappold contemplated undertaking a pilgrimage to Tibet, inspired by a group of devotees who had just returned from such a journey. Reflecting on this desire while sitting in the hall before Bhagavan, he experienced an unforgettable moment. Just then I felt Maharshi's strong gaze upon me. Looking up, I saw him staring intently, his expression stern. Instantly, my resolve to go to Tibet dissolved, disappearing from my mind altogether. His inscrutable power instructed me in silence, binding me to his path. I gave no further thought to leaving his side. Such was the inscrutable power exercised by Maharshi and experienced by those dedicated to following his path. One day, after returning from a trip into town, Rappold presented fruit as an offering to Bhagavan in the Jubilee Pandal adjacent to the old hall. Bhagavan's response revealed his deep concern for Sam's well-being. Rappold writes, "After prostrating, I took a place alongside devotees sitting at Bhagavan's feet. Bhagavan then said to T.P. Ramachandra, serving as a personal assistant at that hour, 'Why does he bring me fruit? He needs it more than I do.' I had been struggling to prepare proper meals, begrudging the time away from Bhagavan, and was living very simply. T.P. Ramachandra came over to me and said that someone had told Bhagavan I was living on raw cabbage, and therefore Bhagavan was concerned about my health. I then got up and went over to Bhagavan sitting on the couch and said, Bhagavan, Subramanya is cooking for me now. His expression turned to that of a pouting child, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know until now." That simple expression melted my entire being. In that moment, his love bound me to him with bonds stronger than steel, with a simple, heart-enrapturing expression, with a glowing smile, a penetrating look of profound clarity. All I could mumble at the moment from my heart was, "I'm sorry, Bhagavan," and stumbled unsteadily to my sitting place again. Rappold was very enthusiastic about queries he made to Bhagavan in the hall, but his enthusiasm for philosophical discussion sometimes bordered on verbosity. One day, after he had questioned Bhagavan at length about philosophies and their relevance for sadhana, questions which Bhagavan graciously and patiently answered, Bhagavan responded with gentle humor. "Words, words, words," he said in English, signaling that it was time to end the discourse. Sam took the hint, deciding to remain silent before Bhagavan for the next several weeks. When he resumed asking questions, he did so with greater discernment. On January the 31st, 1948, the day after Mahatma Gandhi's assassination, civil unrest erupted across India. Tiruvannamalai was no exception. In town, a rumor spread that a Muslim hotel keeper, upon hearing the news of Gandhi's death, commented, "If the Mahatma has been killed, I will pass out sweets." It is unclear whether anyone had ever actually said this or not, but so great were the tensions that every opportunity became an excuse to visit vengeance upon the opposing faction. One morning at about 10 a.m., Arthur Osborne, Rappold, and two other devotees were sitting alone with Bhagavan in the old hall, along with two of Bhagavan's attendants. Just then a shouting mob approached the ashram. Sam vividly recounts the scene. The Maharshi was seated as usual on his couch, and the steel-barred windows were hastily shuttered from the inside, while the two doors were barred. Swami Satchidananda and T.P. Ramachandra made ready to protect Bhagavan from any harm. As the howling mob beat on the barred doors, Bhagavan sat unperturbed on his couch, unconcerned. What a tremendous lesson this was for us. Osborne and I, less enlightened, sprang into action to protect our guru, who would do nothing whatsoever to resist the multitude coming toward him. We seized two heavy straight-back oak chairs that might serve as clubs if circumstances demanded them. The door was only a few feet wide, and thus no more than two persons could squeeze through at a time, so that two men armed with those powerful club-like chairs could well hold off a surging mob of fanatic frenzy. However, after perhaps 2 minutes of grim readiness, Osborne and I relaxed, lowering the chair clubs as the mob moved on. Later that day, Tiruvannamalai was ablaze. By 5 p.m., the Indian Army moved in, and by 7 p.m., they imposed a curfew on the entire town and environment, which included Ramana Ashramam. And this curfew lasted 10 days.